Welcome to the Do It Anyway podcast. I am your host, Maria Redman, here to take you down the path of all things fitness, nutrition, wellness, and all things in between. Welcome, everyone. We are on episode 18. Can't believe it. Another episode down the tubes. So, thank you again for joining me. If you're new to the channel, welcome. Please be sure to like and subscribe if you're watching this on YouTube, and also feel free to share. And you can also catch this podcast on Spotify and Apple Casts. So,
Maria, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I have
Yes.
some amazing news for you.
Let's hear it.
You're at 98 subscribers.
98, you guys.
Yo, we need 2 more right now.
2 more.
You better get on it, but I just want to congratulate you for that. That is an amazing milestone. We got
Thank
2
you.
more subscribers we're going to get. And
I appreciate it.
really-
Yes.
it's a great podcast.
I do appreciate it. I mean, I know for us, you YouTube people, it's probably like 98. She's just getting started. But yes, I am just getting started. So I'm happy for the 98 that are subscribed, and I appreciate all of you. I also appreciate all of you that have taken time, as usual, to leave comments in my DMs on Instagram, in addition to on the YouTube. So I appreciate that. And I promise to answer questions as they come in and I see them. And so before I get into today's topic, I'm going to answer a question. A gentleman asked me how I feel about being in a relationship and being muscular. So I have to say that because I was married for so long, my spouse kind of met me in one way, and I transformed into this. So it's hard for me to really answer the question from that perspective. And since my divorce, it's been a couple years now, I haven't really done very much dating, to be quite honest. I did date one person, and they too were a bodybuilder, so I don't think it was intimidating or weird at all. I have found that men will say, man, gosh, I think you can beat me up. And I'm not sure if that's good or bad. I've also been told to my face, like, you're very intimidating. Your physical stature is just intimidating, which doesn't bother me. And honestly, if someone's intimidated and they're telling me already, like at the beginning, it's definitely someone I wouldn't give my time to anyway. So, I really don't think about being a muscular woman. It just is something that is. I'm very feminine, and I don't dress up quite often. Actually, was talking about this earlier. I don't get all done up very often, but when I do, I go all the way. Your makeup and the dress and the this and the that, and so I don't feel unfeminine at all. Yeah, so I hope that answers your question. I don't know if it bothers men or not. I'm sure it does. I'm sure actually it does bother some men. I do know that in the gym space, I'm very strong, and working out next to some of the guys, they'll say things like, "Oh, Maria's over here. I'm going to move to a different section because she's going to embarrass me." I get that sometimes at the gym too, but it doesn't bother me at all. And I would hope that there would be a man that's, secure in his skin and confident. And at Tim Rader, please do not comment on this, because I know that you're going to say you're shooting your shot. Your shot has been blocked. And there you go. So without further ado, we're going to get into today's episode, which is on the top 10 fitness and nutrition myths. There's so many out there, honestly, and these are just, my top 10. By no means are these all inclusive, because there's unfortunately so many myths out there. But I wanted to just kind of go over some that I feel are mainstream, that I get asked quite a bit about, and break them down a little bit. So, fitness myth number 1, you need to work out every day to see results. So this one is definitely a myth. Let me preface by saying this. It is a myth that to just see results, you don't need to work out every day. Now, if you're someone that's already in the fitness space and you're trying to do like bodybuilding, and you're really in an advanced state, You're going to need to train almost every day. Of course, there's a day or two of recovery, but you're going to be more in the sauce. But this is just if you're really kind of getting started. You don't need to train every single day. Um, you're going to need a lot of rest and recovery so that your muscles can, rebuild and repair after you broke them down in the gym. So, trying to train every day is actually going to be counterproductive for you if you're just getting started. I like to see someone who's starting a journey to fitness do maybe 3 4 days max in the gym. Now if you want to add like a couple of days of just cardio only days to like fill your week up, that's quite fine, but actually hitting the weights every single day, you don't need to do that. You can construct your weight training splits so that you have like an upper and a lower, or I think some of you have probably heard push pull and then a leg day. So there's different ways that you can construct your plan so that you're not training every single day of the week. Um, I think that that's more advantageous. And it also will reduce the likelihood of injuries, which is really the biggest thing. When you're first getting started, it's easy to want to kind of get in there and get gung ho and like bang it out. But honestly, the body is just starting to move, load in ways that it hasn't been moving it before, or even after a long period of time if you've taken like an extended break. So, injury, the risk of getting an injury is very high in that time period. So, you definitely just want to take it slow. So, totally a myth. You don't have to train every single day to see results. You can do a 3 to 4 day split and still see results just fine. Because honestly, the driver of your results are going to be your nutrition, your sleep, and then your training. So, that's myth number one. Myth number two, which I get this a lot from women, lifting weights will make you bulk up. Now, let me tell you how long it took me to get like this. I started training in 2008, and I honestly didn't see a real sizable difference in my physique to where it made a difference in the types of clothing that I purchased between my pants and my tops until about 2016. So a good 8 years before my body transformed enough in size that I had to really start buying different style of clothing. I'm always in a tank top, really, because my arms don't fit into sleeves of feminine shirts very often. So that's why I'm always in a tank top. Definitely not sure I can show the guns off, although, they'll give you a little show there. But um, you won't bulk up, ladies. If you are training, eating well, sleeping well, honestly, you might put on a pound, 2 pounds, maybe every 8 to 12 months. So that's very little return on how long you've been in the gym. So if you're worrying about getting bulky, you're definitely not going to get bulky. I hear women say, "Oh, I put muscle on in my legs very quickly." BS, you don't. What's happening is you're probably eating in a caloric surplus and you're putting on body fat, mistaking it for muscle mass. So that's not the case. It takes a long time to put on lean muscle tissue. I assure you, just keep hitting the weights. You're gonna be fine. You're not gonna bulk up. It's gonna take a long time. Now, there is a time where you can bulk up quickly, and that is if you're taking steroids. So if you go on a steroidal compound, you are going to start to see the results of taking the steroids pretty, substantial by the end of a year. You'll probably look like a completely different person. But if you're a woman and you're taking steroidal compounds, then you are looking to become bigger. So that's the only way that that's going to happen. But on a natural basis, I don't care if you like were drinking creatine all day long. You're still not you're not going to bulk up. So that is a myth. Oh, myth number three. This one is huge. Um, any good coach in nutrition worth their salt, nutrition and dietary, if they're smart, they will always say what I'm about to say. You should always be willing to change your stance when science shows you differently. So when I first started on my fitness journey, for most of you that don't know, I ketogenic dieted Like, I was a huge proponent of it, very huge believer in it. And I mean, for me, it was extremely effective. So much so, even though I had the education, I still felt like carbs were the enemy, that they were demonized. And I my coaching practice in the very beginning started off with this mindset. And I did have a lot of clients in the very beginning on slightly lower carbohydrates than you probably, should sustain. But after a few years of really going back and digging through the knowledge and looking at it, of course, also with me doing different sports, this kind of sparked me on that path of saying, well, carbohydrates are a very good source. I mean, our brains need glucose just to survive. So you can't keep it out but for so long. So it drove me to go back and look at the science a little bit more. And the myth is that carbs make you gain weight is absolutely false. Your weight gain is because you are in a caloric surplus or you are experiencing hormonal issues that is causing you to have a slower metabolic rate, or to not process, carbohydrates well, or maybe even fats well. But the carbohydrates do not make you fat. A caloric surplus is what makes you gain weight. And that's really just, you know, bare bones of it. It's either you're in a caloric surplus or you've got something going on hormonally between your thyroid, or and testosterone, estrogen, things like that. So that is a myth. Carbohydrates are fine. You can eat them. They're not going to make you gain weight. I will say this. I think finding out what carbohydrates are best for your body is the key, though. For instance, sweet potatoes are amazing. They're healthy. I love sweet potatoes. I'm a sucker for sweet potato fries, but I'll be honest with you, after the third day of sweet potatoes straight in my nutrition plan, I am swollen. My eyes get puffy. I get a little bit of puffy in the jawline. My legs retain a lot of water. So I'm getting an inflammatory response from sweet potato. And I've tested it and tested and tested it, and it's the sweet potato. So some of you may think that you're gaining weight from a certain carbohydrates that you're eating in your nutrition, and they're healthy ones, and so you're blaming the carb, but it might be the type of carb. Um, when I got started in nutrition very early on, I ran this really cool experiment, and thank you to all my clients. You guys know who you are that allowed me to guinea pig you back in the day. Um, I started running nutrition protocols based off of ethnicity, gender, age, of course, and race. Race and ethnicity are not the same people. But needless to say, it was very interesting the results that I found. We are genetically predisposed to metabolize food quite well, depending on those things. For instance, the Asian community really can consume that amount of rice. It was crazy for me to see them eat copious amounts of white rice like that and not gain a pound. Like, I was really pushing carbohydrate limits, 700 grams on small female frames, just to see how well they metabolize it, creating a caloric surplus, as a matter of fact, and still they metabolize them extremely well. So there's something to be said for that. African Americans, Black people can really eat grits. I have found grits to be a great carbohydrate for Blacks, to eat. We digest them extremely well. Now, I'm not saying with the cheese and the butter and all that, but I'm just saying, we hook them up. We gotta hook it up, and without the extras. You gotta take the extras out, but we do metabolize them well if we don't put the dairy in there. So I'm just saying. So then there's that. And I found that Caucasians do really well with oatmeal. Like, it's a thing. So I say all that to say this: experiment with the type of carbohydrates that you're eating. Take pictures. Don't really go off the weight. Take pictures so you can see how your body is looking and make some decisions based off that. Maybe you need to swap out one carbohydrate for another. Maybe white rice is not as best. You want to go to a brown rice, or I actually like to give out wild rice. It's more nutrient dense than anything else. So look at your carbohydrate sources and move them around. But it's a myth. Carbohydrates are not the devil. They will not make you gain weight. Myth number 4. This one I love because I see a lot of people um, doing abs, and I think that it's great. But doing crunches are the best way to get abs. It is not. Doing crunches is the best way to get a back injury. Actually, that's factual, but it is not the best way to get abs. So we are all born with abdominal wall. All of us, we all have a six pack inside. Everybody has it. Some people actually have 8. My third oldest has 8 abdominal muscles that pop out because he's got a really long torso. But dietary is what will help them show. If you want to have them pop, you can do some weighted things, but not until you get the fat off of them. If you want to see your abdominals, the only crunch you should be doing actually is crunching yourself away from the table. Dietary is what makes your abs show. My first few years of competing, I'll be honest, I didn't do abs at all. And I would get on stage and my abs were showing each and every time. It's just a matter of reducing the abdominal fat so that you can see your abdominals. And that's really just the long and short of it. But crunching actually will not make your abs, it will just really hurt your back. You can do a lot of things to make your core strong, like planks, bear walks, or bear planks. Those are also pretty cool. An exercise that is often underutilized, that is really, really um, great for how well you'll do as you age, are farmer's carries. There are some studies out that you should actually be able to farmer carry at least half of your body weight. And if you could do that, your chances of being able to pick yourself up off the floor when you're in your elderly years is exponentially higher versus if you can't. It also makes your core strong on in a 360. So your abs are not just in the front, actually, they're wrapped all the way around. You have 360. And so doing farmer carries really works all aspects of your abdominal wall. So not crunches, farmer's carries, planks, bear planks, things of that nature. Then when you get super duper lean, if you want to do like, leg ups, leg raises off of a bench or jackknives, you can throw those in, but definitely don't crunch. That's just a no go. All right.
Well,
Go
question
ahead.
on that.
Yeah,
Why was that taught in schools then? Like, why is that, like, we had the push-ups, we had
that's right. Sit ups.
we had the sit-ups,
Right.
and we had the the miles or whatever, but
Right.
crunches
were the staple. I think originally the science was, logically, if you take the muscle and you bend it, right,
yeah,
you're loading
correct.
it that
Yeah.
way. But
Is it
and
just new
it
studies
and new studies have come out, and what's happened is now that information's already just so ingrained that people just go with it, and no one ever really talks about the new studies. Like, most people don't even know that crunches really do create a back injury. Most people in the military suffer with back injuries from doing PT test crunches.
Yeah, see, that's kind of mind blowing, and then I guess it would take too much to tell all of the school systems to say, hey,
Right.
stop
Stop doing those.
Let's
Ex-
do a plank instead,
Right.
or
Right.
farmers
Care,
walk,
right,
yeah,
right.
farmers
If
carry.
you start them from an early
Yeah.
age, right? How cool would that be? But
Yeah. But that's good to know, because
It-
I will say I always have my back always hurts after I do crunches, and
Yes.
so I
yeah,
that makes sense.
That flexion is definitely not good on the spine. It does not like it. You're talking about herniated disc land.
Yeah, wow,
Yeah.
that was very cool.
So, oh, this one, I love this one. Myth number 6, and I gotta do a call out for this one for my bougie crew. This one's gonna be for my crazy rich neighbor bougie crew friends. The myth: the more you sweat, the more calories you burn. Oh, people. Oh, I know everyone wants to sweat. They think they're getting it in. Now, I will say this. When I'm training, I want to sweat because I do feel like I'm not doing anything if I'm not sweating. But honestly, the sweat is really just this: your body's ability to cool itself off so you don't die. It's literally your body's air conditioning. That's exactly what's happening when you're sweating. It's an effort to try to cool the body off because you're overheated. You are not burning any more calories because you're sweating. I know it's sad. I know. I just broke a bunch of people's hearts out there. um, it's not. The only way to burn fat off the body and burn more calories is to train really hard. And what I mean by training really hard, I think people underestimate the power of how well you're contracting your muscles when you're doing a workout, um, doing cardio, with intensity or duration. Those are the things that are going to burn body fat. But just because you're sweating, it means absolutely nothing. It's really just your body trying, it's a safety mechanism. Your body's saying, hey, I'm trying to keep you safe. So I'm going to sweat to cool you off so you don't overheat and pass out. So that's myth number 6. And I think that some people just lost all my sauna suit wearers. It's, and you're going to sweat out and you're going to step on a scale and you're going to be like, oh man, yeah, I'm lighter. As soon as you drink water or any liquid, it's all that weight comes back. So that's that. Oh, here's another big one. Myth number 7. You have to do cardio to lose weight. This is totally not true. There have been many stints where I have gone without doing very little cardio, if any at all, and still can produce weight loss. Again, in order to get weight loss to happen, if you're metabolically sound and your hormones are balanced, if those are fine, taking your nutrition in the right direction and your training in the right direction. So you have to have really good intensity with your training and then minimal, let me say this again, minimal deficit, create minimal deficits in your nutrition. So if you're at 2,500 calories and your weight is able to stay the same, let's say 150, you can have 2,500 calories, your weight doesn't budge, you're perfectly fine. You can train, to create a larger deficit, you can train a little bit longer and a little bit harder, doing more compound movements, things that are going to really tax and work your body to create the deficit, or you can pull some calories away from the 2,500. When creating a deficit, I personally like to do 50 to 75 calories maximum for the deficit. I like to start slow because if I jump too many calories, your metabolism slows down every time you drop calories, right? It's trying to protect itself, so it starts to slide down. Well, I want to keep the metabolism as high as I possibly can. So I rarely decrease the calories. I actually prefer to increase the intensity of the training. So you don't have to do cardio, but you will need to train very hard and or create the deficit through your nutrition. So that's a really big myth. And actually, you burn more calories with the contraction of a muscle than you do every minute on some form of cardio, with the exception of if you're doing something like sprinting, something very high intensity. So you don't have to do cardio to lose weight. Totally a myth. Oh, here's my favorite one, actually. Man, if this myth were true, I'd be in trouble. So, myth number 8: eating after 8 p.m. causes weight gain. That is so false. If you have your bucket of calories a day at 2,000, that's your caloric bucket, and it's 10 o'clock and you have 350 to 400, whatever. You have calories left over, and it's 10 o'clock, eat. Don't say it's too late because I'm going to go to bed. I eat every single night 30 minutes before going to bed, a full meal of food. Sometimes it's upwards of 600, 700 calories because I get home from the gym very late. I come home, I eat one meal, and I wait a little while, and I'm eating another one. So there's plenty of nights that I'm eating at 1 o'clock, 1:30 in the morning before going to bed on a daily basis. I have not gained a pound, nor have my clients. I've got clients that are in the gym sometime with me, and they're like, I have 2 meals left. What should I do? I'm like, eat them. So you're fine. There's none of your body doesn't say, oh my, it's 8 p.m. We should stop eating. It does not do that. Now, let me say this. If you are a person that has a very slow metabolism or you're sedentary, that is where this myth has kind of taken hold, right? Because clearly, if you're not burning any calories, you're not going to create a deficit at all at any point, right? You're sedentary. So you're probably going to are overeating after 8 p.m. And typically, if people eat meals that are not really nutrition and fitness oriented as much, they're probably eating junk and snacks and sugars. That's the difference. So it's what you're eating after 8 p.m. that can make or break this whole system and whether or not you're sedentary. So you can eat after 8 p.m., there's no magic clock. But just know that you shouldn't be piling in junk. You shouldn't be spiking your sugar through the roof, in the middle of the night if you are a sedentary person. Don't do that. Um, but again, if it's still within your calorie bucket, eat whole foods and reach your calories, all your macros for the day, no matter what time it is, and you're going to be absolutely fine. So I hope that takes the stress off of some of you thinking about eating your cabinets at 10 o'clock in the night while you're scrolling on TikTok because you've stayed up late and now you're like, I'm hungry. If that is you and you still have calories on the table, but you're scared to eat because it's after 8, go downstairs and eat whatever whole foods you have. Um, Eggs, egg whites, chicken, whatever it is, just make it whole foods. Don't go eat candy. Don't have cookies, things of that nature. Don't do that, but you can eat. So that is myth number 8. Myth number 9. I kind of like this one too because we live in a society now where like protein shakes are the thing. So the myth is protein shakes are necessary for building muscle. False. So false. Um, Protein shakes are great to have. They're a great way to get in protein for people who struggle to eat or whom are time deprived. They don't have a lot of time to cook meals all day. But honestly, it is legitimately just a protein source, um, equivalent to eating a piece of chicken or some beef. You're not, nothing's going to happen differently to your body if you eat food instead of having protein shakes. There's nothing magical in a protein shake. I mean, I can remember protein shakes like really hit the market strong. People thought it was like a drug or something. Like they were like, "Oh, my son wants to start doing protein shakes." And I'm like, "No way." And I'm like, "Really? Actually, no pun intended on the way, but pun intended. It's just whey isolated. It comes from the milk, from the it's from the milk. It's totally fine." So there's nothing magical about a protein shake. I will say this, like I said, it makes it easier, and it's got, typically depending on the brand, but for most of them, all of the essential amino acids that you need in there. So all around, it's something good. I will say this: protein powders are extremely versatile, especially if you buy a very high quality blended one, because you can bake with them. I have so many different recipes that I give out to my clients that are so good. Peanut butter bars, oh my gosh, chocolate somethings. I got everything. Muffins, you name it, cookies. I've got tons of cookie recipes, tons of muffin recipes, cakes, all made with protein powder. So there's a lot you can do with protein powder to make a whole food item versus just chucking it down and drinking it. So if I have a client that wants sweet things, I utilize protein powders to create said baked goods. So that's where it comes in handy. But it's not going to make you build muscle any faster than a steak or a piece of chicken would. It just does not. So that's myth number 9. And then myth number 10. I hear this a lot from older people. They'll say, it makes me giggle a little bit. I guess because I know differently, but I never say anything to when they say it. They're like, yeah, I got to turn the fat into muscle. And that is a myth. You cannot turn fat into muscle. These are two different types of tissue in the body. They do not correlate together at all. They just don't. You're either losing fat or building muscle. And if you have in some rare occasion, if you have a really well devised nutrition plan, you can actually lose fat and build muscle at the same time. It's very hard to do. It is doable, but the two tissues don't match. You either have fat in the body and muscle over here. They do not like the fat doesn't say, oh, I've got to like change format and no, this is not a Wonder Twin Powers activate type of situation. It's not. So that is definitely a myth. There's no correlation between the two at all. So those are my top 10 fitness and nutrition myths. And I hope this was helpful for a lot of you. Please, ladies and gentlemen, I don't want to see you in the sauna suits. Now, let me go ahead and make a little sidebar. I know if you're a competitor, you're going to have on that sauna suit and you're going to be in the sauna and doing cardio with it. And that is a technique to rid the body of water. However, I'm going to say this, and some people in the bodybuilding community may not like it. As soon as you drink water, the water weight comes back. You're not losing any more fat doing that. I don't care who you are. So I know that it makes us feel good because we want to have paper lean skin, and I get it. But you're going to take a diuretic before you get on stage anyway. It's not like you're going to sit in the sauna and then get on stage, or it's not happening. So to that, I say, you don't need to put yourself through that type of torture. Just don't. It's not happening. So, that's what I have for you guys today. And I want to thank you for joining me on episode 18 of the Do It Anyway podcast. Be sure to check this podcast out on Spotify, Applecast, or YouTube. And if you're watching on YouTube, be sure to like, subscribe, and share. It helps the algorithm and gets me out there so I can get more people. And I need 2 more subscribers to hit 100 because I'm just ecstatic about hitting the 3 digits. So thank you again for joining me, and I will see you all on the next week's episode. Peace.
Maria, really quick.
yes.
I had something I wanted to kind of chime in there.
Yes, please.
You picked your top 10.
Right.
I love that. I kind of want to shout out the audience and say, give some other.
Yeah.
Give some other. Like,
Yeah.
let's hear them.
100%.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Feel free to drop them down in the comments. Let me know, or ask, is this a myth or is it true? If you really just don't know, I'll be more than happy to answer those. And yeah, drop it down. Let me know what you guys think.
All right.
All right. Peace.